Welcome to part 2 of the setup analysis featuring the head Metallix 2, and in this racket we have it strung up with Signum Pro Firestorm 1.30. So this particular test match was indoors on a medium to slowish paced hard court, and the ball stays a bit lower than you would usually expect, especially when compared to clay or hard outdoor courts. So bearing that in mind, once we go into this analysis, I'm going to start off with, actually I'll do what I usually do. We'll go into some positives, some negatives, and then maybe some strategies with which we can try to improve the setup with. And so I'll start off with the positives this time, and with the newer balls, the flat shots and the slice shot was very effective with this setup. Because of that extra length control, even indoors, it's noticeable, and you can use the slicker speed from the newer balls to your advantage. And obviously with these lower bouncing courts, that slice stays low and it tends to skid through a little bit more. So very good as both a neutralizing defensive and on occasion an offensive weapon. So I'm really happy with the way that the setup played with regards to shots with flatter trajectories. And this is particularly good for myself because I naturally play a little bit lower over the net, and so my usual rally ball gets a bump up in terms of effectiveness. So anyone that plays flatter shots, has like an Eastern forehand, uses the slice a lot, or even has a two-handed backhand that plays flat or stays low over the net. I'm thinking players like Cam Norrie on the professional tour that keeps their backhand low over the net and tends to skid it through. They're going to like a setup like this. So players along with those sort of attributes. Of course, it's worth bearing in mind with the newer balls, they don't deform on impact as much, and that lack of deformation does mean you get an increase in the accuracy of your height and line control. Which brings me to the first weakness I'm going to mention, which is the decrease in effectiveness of the shots we just mentioned. So flat shots, low over the net, and slice shots. This is because, again, as the balls get older, they lose a little bit of pressure, and that ball deformation decreases your height and line control, so we can't be as aggressive or attacking. And to be more specific, we can't play consistently with as low a margin of error, if that makes sense. We're going to have to open up that amount of margin for error to make sure we don't make too many mistakes. And the shots that were skidding through in the first half an hour of play, the slice and the aggressive flat shots, they're not reaching our opponent with as much speed off of the surface. So they're staying low, but because my opponent has a bit more time to wind up, especially on his forehand, which he has crazy racket head speed on, that causes a problem. Situations where I would be in the ascendancy in the beginning of the match, they're now neutral, or in even worse occasions, they are turning into situations where I'm having to stay on the defensive. And so that's a big problem, because what was a strength is now a weakness as we move on into the latter stages of the test match. And the setup doesn't possess as much spin as I would like. I think I mentioned this in part 1, but naturally with a string that has lower stiffness, we're going to have less shot speed and less power. That is the trade-off we take for the increase in length control. So we're more consistent, but we need to be prepared to play longer extended rallies as a result, because we're not going to be able to hit through our opponent with as high of a percentage as the match goes on and the balls get older and they lose pressure. And while we're on weaknesses, this one is a little bit unusual. I haven't mentioned this one before. On the Metallix 2, there's actually a dampener that's attached to the grommets, and this is an issue for myself because I feel like it kind of nullifies the strength of the string and the setup, which is the length control. By adding that dampener onto the setup and not giving me the chance, the option even, to take the dampener off, I'm being forced to play with more shot speed, less deflection, but more shot speed than I otherwise would. So I'm going to list that as a weakness. I think every racket should give the user the option to either take the dampener off or use it. You shouldn't be forced to use a dampener, which on this occasion it is. It's not as big an issue as it could be, because the dampener doesn't rest on the bottom cross string, which would add even more pace and spin, which is not what I want from this setup. In fact, if that was the case, it would be very bad, because I've tried a dampener with this string before and the launch angle was just too high, combined with the shot speed, that the length control was a joke. And so I've vowed never to really do that again. If anyone can make that work, please let me know, because I haven't been able to. But yeah, the other weakness of this racket is that the dampener is attached to the grommets, and unless I cut it off, I cannot remove it. Not good, I have to be honest. And the final weakness I'm going to touch on is that indoors, where the air is thinner, I still can't find that sharp angle juice, and it's been an issue for a while. This racket hasn't solved the issue, or this setup rather, and outdoors I'm able to hit the sharp angle with a little bit more consistency, not as much as I would like, but at least I'm able to on occasion hit it. Indoors, with the ball traveling a little bit further, I found it very difficult, and it's almost a shot that I completely abandoned. I was just hitting my serve out wide into the corners rather than trying to draw my opponent out with the sharper angle, because I didn't have access to it, unfortunately. So that is an issue that I'm going to try and address again. We need to either make a change to the racket or the string that's going to give us the opportunity to be able to hit that shot. But we'll see what happens. Right, that's the strengths and the weaknesses. A quick recap: the strength was the outstanding length control and the effectiveness of the flat shots and the slice shots with the newer balls. The weaknesses manifest as the balls get a little bit older, the match goes into its second hour, and we have a decrease in the amount of shot speed off of the surface because the balls have lost a little bit pressure, and on top of that we have a decrease in the accuracy of the height and line control. This setup doesn't really excel in that area anyway, and so once the decrease in the pressure of the balls starts to become clear, it's even more of a problem for the setup. It doesn't venture into the territory of unplayable by any means, or even close to it. I played with unplayable, and they're a waste of time. But the difference, especially for sensitive players, is very, very clear, and that decrease in effectiveness is not good. It's not good for morale, motivation, whatever, because now you know that you're in for a dogfight. Rallies are going to be extended naturally as the balls are slower anyway, but the effectiveness of your shots are also decreasing as well. So yeah, tough, and that is definitely a weakness. We also got the dampener that's attached to the grommets, which I can't remove unless I cut it off. That's annoying. Doesn't even give me the option to choose whether I want to use a dampener or not. And also the juice side sharp angle slice out wide is not accessible for myself with this setup. Funnily enough, you know, if I could remove the dampener, I feel like I'd have a better chance, or I absolutely would have a better chance of being able to hit that serve more consistently indoors, but I don't have the option, like I said. So yeah, those are the strengths and the weaknesses. I've had a thought about where to take this setup next, whether a new racket or a new string, and I'm going to try something different that we haven't, I don't believe we've seen this on this channel so far. It's going to be a hybrid setup in the racket. So we're keeping the head Metallix 2, The mains is the same, Signum Pro Firestorm 1.30, but I'm going to try a very thin string called the IsoSpeed V12, and that is a 1.12 millimeter string, hence why I put it in the cross strings. I don't know about the durability of this string yet, so I'm going to play it a little bit safer, keep it in the crosses and keep the mains as the Signum Pro Firestorm. The stiffness is quite a bit lower than the Pro Firestorm, so I'm expecting even more length control and feel from this setup. Hopefully that will be able to give us the opportunity to hit more of those slice serves out wide with the sharp angles, and if all things go to plan, we'd have even more length control. And at the moment I don't feel the height and line control is unplayable, but it is something on my mind. We can't just keep neglecting it in favor of length control. So yeah, that is on my mind, and I will address it if it gets to the point where it's holding the setup back. And that brings us to the end of part 2 of this setup analysis. We are moving on to the hybrid string next time, so I'll do a preview on that setup coming out soon. And I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. I do appreciate it. If you found it interesting, it might be worth checking out the other content on this channel and staying tuned for future videos coming out soon. So hopefully I'll see you all there, and everyone, take care.